Here we go. Well, Nick Gibbs is here again. Thank goodness, because I wouldn't know what to do with my Tuesday afternoon. It wasn't for Nicholas joining me. Um, he says, Elon says that these little companions that are now on Grok, these little, they called them companions, right? Yeah, little cute girl in her little dress, and the little animated animal. In case you are a furry, you can use the animal instead.
Oh
Apparently,
man, Randy, you're about to get demonetized. I don't know where we're going with this.
well, apparently, eventually, you're going to be able to have any companion you want. It could be, Dracula or a zombie or, you know, a robot or your second grade teacher. See, you said I would, get in trouble. But anyway, so that'd be kind of fun if you could have anybody you want as your companion.
Who would you have?
Oh, good question. Yeah, good question. Very good question. I hadn't thought about it. But it'd be fun to kind of maybe switch it up from time to time, depending on what you're doing. Some famous theologian, if I'm looking at something theological, so, and a famous physicist, if I'm thinking about physics. I don't know. Do you have
Okay.
somebody in mind?
Ooh, I'd probably have a whole host of people.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, if I just feel like having a good laugh, probably someone like Ryan Reynolds. If I wanted to know what's going on next with Tesla, maybe I would try to talk to Elon on there.
There you go. That's right. Put it
Um,
out there.
if I wanted to, I don't know. What else would I want to do? I don't know. I'd have to think about it. It'd be
Yeah,
interesting. It'd be interesting to talk to like people of the past,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Our
but don't know
people
if it'd be accurate. But
are fictional characters,
oh yeah, that'd be
fiction.
fun.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
like from books you've read or whatever.
right.
Yeah.
Well, okay, there's somebody on X said that LLM hype cycle is coming to an end. The return on investment expected isn't going to be in the LLMs, and that seems clear for now. Useful, yes. Overhyped, yes. Commoditized already, yes. AI ROI will be in autonomy and humanoids, not LLMs. Mark my words. So, what do you think? Do you agree with this character, this oddball, or not?
Man, whoever said that has probably was very prescient.
Freshman. Oh,
Yeah.
I see. I see. I guess that was Nicholas Gibbs said those very words.
Yeah. A long time ago.
Is that from that's been up at the top of your thing for a while, huh?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so now you can't even call them LLMs anymore. So you need to take that from the top of your post. Elon said,
What?
call them LLMs anymore.
Yeah, they're LLMs. That's what they are.
He says you have to call them models, just models. It's to call them
It is.
LLMs is no longer right.
Then what is it?
He said models. Some people say that they are frontier models.
They're large language models trained with text in. They provide text out. So
Aren't some of them now with not text in, like visual content in, or what do you call it? Sim in.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily what's happening, but yeah, sure. They're LLMs.
All right, so I'm kind of glad that I quoted this old thing that you said. So we've moved along in that 4 or 5 months since you put that up there. How do you feel? How do you feel about what you said then, and how's it applying now?
Yeah, I mean it's literally almost exactly a year ago. I posted that.
Oh, was it a year?
I think it's more true than ever. You've seen the cost for LLMs come down drastically. API calls to any LM has dropped considerably. We have yet to see any real revenue be created by LLMs. And there's not a single company that, whether it's OpenAI, Anthropic, uh, obviously XAI, that are making real money with their LLMs. All
Or
they are
probably any profit. Yeah.
correct. And I think what we're seeing is that they are the substrate for what will become the revenue generators in the AI world, ergo autonomy and humanoids, which we see Grok is part of now officially.
Right. Yes. Some people actually have Grok in their car now. That wouldn't be you, and that wouldn't be me, and maybe it isn't anybody that we're talking to, but apparently it's rolling out there. So one of these days soon, we should be having Grok in our car.
Yeah. Any technology that has a very low barrier to develop
Uh-huh.
will become commoditized quickly. And so with LLMs, the base of most LLMs is just basic internet data,
Yeah.
which becomes very simple to get. And then from there, what you're seeing a lot of people do is Elon talked about this the other day, but a thing that's been happening a lot is people creating synthetic data to train on top of. That's been happening for a long time, but now it's escalating because there's everyone's used all the data that's out there publicly available.
Right.
And so, this becomes a thing that everybody can do that. There's no
Right.
moat. There's
Right.
no exclusivity, except in some unique cases. So Google with Gemini, they have obviously Google search, but they also have YouTube, and there's a lot they can do there. Tesla, or excuse me, XAI can potentially have access to Tesla data, can potentially have access to Optimus data, but more pressingly has access to X data,
Right.
Twitter, X data. And so that's a unique form that only they would have. And so this kind of creates a little bit of a moat, but still it's not that big of a moat. FSD, that's a moat because getting that data is not easy. It's extremely, extremely hard. Optimus, that will be a moat because that data will be extremely hard to get. So data, unique data is what really matters. The harder it is to get that unique data, that's where the ROI is going to be. So all this other stuff, LLMs and all that, that won't be the ROI. It's what's built on top of it.
So here's a question I came up with today. This is a little philosophy question. And you and I have had some good times talking the last few weeks about things that were a little on the philosophical side or the political side. But I wondered today, are we going to get to the point where AI is good enough? And by that, I mean, we all individually tend to get to a satisfaction level. We get to a place where we go, oh, I don't need more than this. I've got everything I need. I don't need more money. I don't need more play toys. I don't need more entertainment. I don't need more children, grandchildren, whatever it is. I'm really quite satisfied with what I have. And I'm wondering whether that could also happen even with regard to the community, to the society, and then to the intelligence of the society. So that and it might happen long before we unwrap some of the biggest mysteries. We could literally get to the place where we have all the mysteries solved that we care about, or that we care about very much. Is that a possibility?
Uh, Possibility, sure, but I would say it goes against the human condition. As humans, the only time in my observable life is that we only become satisfied or content when either a certain thing becomes detrimental to us, or we can't do the thing anymore, or the trade-off is just not worth it. It's the
Mhm.
only time we say that's enough. So maybe it's a bad habit you're doing, drugs, alcohol, whatever. You
Right.
push until it's like, okay, this is like really ruining my life.
Mhm.
Or you mentioned having kids. It gets to the point where I just can't do it anymore, right? Or the trade-off's not worth it, meaning, well, I've got X amount of money. It's not worth it for me anymore to keep working all these hours rather than just going and living life. Yeah, that's a trade-off thing. So
Mhm.
it's not at no point do you get to a state of it's good enough. We're done. It's there's trade-offs, there's detriment, or there's inability to. Other than that, I've never seen anyone get to a point where they just stop, at least in my observable life.
Right, 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 right. So we do have people that are spending apparently their 20s or maybe even their 30s laying on their mother's couch in the garage playing video games. Um, we have you know, people, I guess, used to call them layabouts. I'm just wondering whether, as the entertainment gets ramped up, we get the entertainment that's just so amazing, where we got the helmet on, or the glasses, or the contact lenses, or whatever, and we're able to go anywhere in the world, and we feel like we're right there. I don't know if you've done any of those kind of 3D environments yet with the virtual reality, but I was at the Bible Museum in Washington, D.C., and they had something like that. And I mean, it takes your breath away when they turn off the lights and turn on the virtual reality. As these things become more and more complex and interesting, and you've got the games become more interesting, you can communicate with people from all over the world in any language, which is already happening right now. Um, think through that in kind of situation. And again, you've got enough money, you can eat there's no limit to the foods that you can get. Um, do you think there's a point at which purpose no longer is an issue? Because everybody's talking about, oh, what happens when humans don't have any purpose anymore? But maybe that's not a thing. And maybe there's a flip on that.
Okay, so you just weaved a lot of stuff from you're on your mom and dad's couch or in their basement, and then you ended with you have enough money to whatever. So all these are like very different individual personas you just listed. The persona of the person who is just playing video games all day in their parents' basement or whatever. I think that goes back to the same example where I mentioned you want but you can't have. So in other words, like a woman wants to keep having kids but she can't at a certain age. I think that's the same thing in that scenario. I think a lot of people feel there's a inability for them to get ahead in life. A lot
Mm,
of people feel like they can't get a proper job, or they're so laden in debt because of school, or women don't want them, or they can't afford a house and they can't go out on their own. And if they're living in their parents' house and they can't afford their own place and can't have a job, how can they ever go date? And so it can become this piling of life on top of you, and it's it's a little crude to say, but there is a lot of truth to the statement of, you know, a woman can just, you know, walk onto a yacht and a man has to earn his ability to buy that yacht.
mhm.
And so from a man, there's a lot of those extra stresses, and women have their own stress as
Sure.
well. But in this example, someone living in their basement, you're talking about a guy. You're not talking about a woman. Um, and in that sense, like women, I think have a lot of their own challenges, but I think women are a lot more resilient in many ways than men are. I think men, once they get down at a certain point in life early on, it becomes very detrimental to them.
Mhm.
So that's that type of persona. As far as the technology being so good that you're so immersed in it, and again, I guess you have all the money in the world and all that. There's a time there where we were talking a lot about the metaverse and this was going to be the thing. And, I would post on X how I think this is all crap, that it's not going to be something that catches on. I still feel like this. I feel that the more that we have abundance and the more that we have technology doing really good things, the more we're going to get back to nature, that
Mm,
we're going to be more in touch with nature, that we're going to have more desires to be out in nature, to be grounded, to be out in the sun, to go in on a hike. And I feel pretty confident in that. Obviously, not for everybody.
mm,
Everyone's going to have their vice and get sucked into their thing. But I think that's a very organic human thing for us, that we just feel better when we're outside, breathing in that fresh air, feeling the sun on your skin, feeling the the mist of an ocean wave crashing on some rock. Like you just, it's nurturing. It's rejuvenating. And to your last point about purpose, I don't think we'll ever lose purpose. I think humans have an innate ability to continue to find purpose, especially people who believe in a religion. They kind of, society has embedded that purpose in them already. But even for those who aren't very religious or are wavering in a religion, or just, I think a lot of people pray and go to church or their place of worship, and they don't even know if they're doing it right, or if like they're even praying to anyone, right? Like I think we've all lived in that, like, am I even doing this right? Like, I know for like a lot of Christians, it's like, I think I've given myself to Christ, but like, have I? Like, how do I know I have, or how do I know I fully have? And I'm not just thinking I have, but I haven't really. And like, how do I know that I've met the requirement of I've actually done it? And it's like, where's that signal of like, yes, I have fully? Like, you think you have, but you don't know. Anyway, so I think people have that for them, but everyone else who isn't religious, I think people still tend to find a purpose in life, whatever that thing is, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's just family and raising kids, um, activities, hobbies. I think people tend to find their thing, but to give a little, to talk out of the other side of my mouth, I do think you have a point that we are increasingly seeing people lose hope, lose sight of purpose, of reason for life, for moving forward. The game seems so stacked against them in many ways, and in many ways it's not true, but in many ways it's also true. Especially as the world changes. When I came out of high school, I was kind of lucky. I came out of high school and the financial crisis hit. So I had all of college to go through before I had to deal with the repercussions of that. But many people had to go and just deal with that right out of college, to have no work. Kids today graduating have a huge crisis, existential crisis, potentially career existential crisis with, I went to school for this, and now I'm being told that this is where the world's going to go, and AI might be replacing my job, and am I even valid anymore? Do I even know what that is? They never taught us that in college, and I have all this debt now, and well, I need to get a job because these payments start in 2 months. And what do I do? And people who go into jobs like nursing or certain types of engineering, they'll be fine and they'll have their path. But for a lot of other people, it becomes a big question mark. So, yeah, a long-winded answer, but there's a lot in there that you brought up.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we'll leave the rest of that story for another day. But I do want to, well, no, I think we covered a lot of it. So I think that's a good place to stop, and maybe we'll hit on it on another time. Speaking of fun, Elon says that the new Hollywood diner is a ton of fun. He says it's really exciting and a great place to go. It's going to be something that people are going to be excited to go to in Hollywood, if they're a Tesla owner, I guess. I don't know if you can walk in off the street if you don't also gas up, so to speak, power up. What do you think? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think we need more things like that at charging stations? Do you think it's a one-off? Do you think it's just going to be good for some what do you call it, visibility, some promotion of the brand? What do you think?
My wife wants to see more stuff like that. She wants to see lounges at charging stations. Kind of like what you see like with Delta going to
Huh?
the Sky Lounge. I personally think it's a waste of money. Like I think the diner's fine. Like it's fine to have like one-off things here and there. Like that's fine. But I just I see charging stations eventually becoming a relic of the past.
Hmm.
And that
No,
might sound weird, but
right. Yeah, because you won't own the car.
exactly. I so adamantly see a future of just
Yeah,
autonomous vehicles. Like at a certain point, it just makes no sense to own your car
right,
unless
right,
you are just very wealthy, or and choose to have that vehicle.
right.
But it becomes very clearly like if owning a car was ever definitely not an investment, it definitely won't be an investment at that point. Because for what? Like you're gonna have this huge expense for something that you could do so cheaply. It's like let's go buy a movie theater when I can just watch Netflix. Like what?
Right.
or that's a bad example. Let's go buy the movie when I can just stream it and stream everything else as well for $9. If I'm
Yeah.
gonna go spend $20 on this movie and I can only watch that one movie, it makes no sense. Nobody buys movies anymore. People don't buy CDs anymore, right? So the cost would become so fractional that it doesn't make sense to own a car. So I don't know. I think investing money into those things kind of becomes pointless
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
time.
Long term. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So then continuing in the fun zone, we had a fun
I'm just dampening the fun.
no, we had a fun addition to the territory in Austin. I'm sorry to say that while you had coffee in your mouth.
Oh.
Yes. So,
Gotcha.
so what did you think about did you think that was a, a very, very good way to generate lots of publicity?
No.
No,
It got zero publicity from mainstream media.
that's true.
Literally negative publicity.
Yeah,
It
right.
was it was comical. Like normally, like even like CNBC, they'll say something here or there,
Yeah.
but with that one, they didn't even touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Just don't mention polls.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah, but I will say we need one more data point now.
yeah.
We need one more data point because uh, I don't know if you have another question here, but
No, go ahead.
this was an interesting data point that they did this because either one, this is something they could do pretty easily because they had already validated a lot of the area. And that's the only reason they were able to do this because, again, they've been prepping for this launch for a long, long time. Or this is a very big flex from the Tesla team saying, listen, we're rolling this out slowly just to be cautious, but we can essentially do whatever we want.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so we don't know which one it is yet. So I think the next update, the next expansion should be a pretty big signal to see how far and wide they go.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. If for the next one, all of a sudden they're all the way out from Kyle, Texas to Round Rock or whatever it's called, like just
Mhm.
a huge area, that will be a big signal,
Mhm.
especially if they do it in such effectively short time. What
Yeah.
I guess more interesting would be when they launch in Arizona, assuming they launch in Arizona at the end of the month, how long that takes. Because it's hard to. Here's the problem with Austin. They've been in Austin for so long, validating Austin for so
Right.
long. It's hard to know if they're expanding quickly
Yeah.
or if it's because they've had all this time to validate and they really need a lot of time to validate to create to be able to expand the way they have. It's how do
Right.
we know? We don't know until we go to some random city
Hmm.
that we know that we haven't seen them everywhere. So I don't know. It's interesting.
How long do you think the safety riders will be in the cars?
I think they will be in the cars for quite some time. I think at least for the rest of the year.
Oh, wow. For the rest of the year, we could be talking about hundreds or thousands of safety riders.
I mean, have they even added more vehicles yet?
They haven't, but if they're talking about being in three cities by the end of the year, Austin and two others, and if you're going to do any kind of coverage at all, you're going to be certainly into the hundreds, I would think. Maybe not, huh?
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that because even once they go to this new version that Elon had alluded to, that needs to be validated. And I doubt they're going to want to validate that one without a safety rider.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think it's gonna be a while.
All right. Well, coming up a week from today, almost exactly, there will be an earnings call. Have you got top of your mind ideas of what you are most interested in hearing at the call?
Yeah, the only question I care about hearing as far as when it relates to vehicles is what's the status of the more affordable vehicles. That's
Okay,
it.
that's
I
it.
don't want to hear another thing about vehicles. That's it. Other than that, I think all the questions should be about Robotaxi expansion, new cities, when are you going to get the riders out, how long is it taking you to validate for a certain area, how many people do you have per vehicle, how many vehicles do you have out there now, how many miles have you driven, how many interventions are you seeing, what's your iteration rate? Like that should be the only topic. That's it.
Detail it out. Detail it out.
I mean, if I was the analyst, those would be the only questions I'd be asking. And
Okay.
if I was Tesla investors, there's the only questions I'd be asking. Like at this point, you don't like we could actually ask some very pointed questions for the first time.
Yeah.
In the past, we couldn't ask these questions. Now we can. It's a
Right.
whole new segment we can ask, and it's not a Elon always says we don't do product announcements on earnings call. Not a product announcement, just asking details.
Right.
How's it going? What's the plan rollout? When are you going to do it? How long is it taking you to expand? How long were you mapping the last expansion before you mapped? Like, how much were you mapping, prior to this? Like, were you mapping all along over the last 4 months and that's why you were able to? Or did you just start doing it now? When do we get the new model? How long is that going to take? How long are we going to have safety riders in there? I mean, you could go on and on with this.
Right. Okay. So those are the two things you'd like to hear about. All right, let's skip then to the other
Wait, what do you
division.
want to hear?
Oh, I'm very interested in batteries. And
Oh,
that brings up energy. So I'm just curious, where are they going to get enough batteries to fill up the Houston mega factory? Where are they going to get enough batteries to fill up all those semi trucks that are going to be rolling out? I'd like to know when they think the semi trucks will be autonomous, since I would hope that that would be shortly after they actually start scaling. Yeah, those are some of the other. I'm very interested in the full. Obviously, I'm very interested in Optimus, but I'm guessing we're not going to have much of an update on Optimus. They'll probably put that off till the fourth quarter.
but exactly. That's how we were with Robotaxis. Exactly how you
Yeah,
are with Optimus. For the first time, we don't have that gate. The
right.
gate's open now, and now we can ask questions. The batteries, I hear you, but the truth is, those are not pertinent to the Tesla story. They're not. They're not going to be the revenue generating. They just won't be. Optimus, humanoids, that's what's going to make money.
That's the big one. Yep. Yeah, we all agree on that one. So, but I still want to talk about energy because of this. I want to tie it into.
Oh, here we go.
I want to tie it into something else. So the hyperscalers in the AI business,
All right,
all
careful where we go with this because
okay,
we
they
can
all
only talk so much.
okay, but all the hyperscalers seem to be finding unique ways to get energy. So we have one that's restarting 3 Mile Island. We have Elon disassembling a power plant in Europe and bringing it over to Memphis. We've got somebody who I forget which one it was today announcing that they have was that Meta? I think Meta saying today that they've gotten an arrangement in Pennsylvania, I think it is, to restart or reutilize, increase the capability of some hydroelectric dams to give them quite a bit of energy, quite a substantial amount. So I that got me to thinking. We know that we need a lot of energy in the next couple of years. 3 years, they're talking about we'll be out of energy. They won't. No way can they keep up. This could cause electric rates to go up for homeowners. So everybody's talking about how can we get more and more energy right now. But then I heard there was this a reminder. I forget who it was that said these words. Whenever there's a shortage, it will be followed by a massive overbuilding. So could we, as we come up with clever ways to solve the problem, as we find ways to increase the efficiency of the URLs, I'm sorry, there's too many three-letter words in the world now, of the GPUs, as we come out as we get them more efficient, as we find better ways to cool them, as we et cetera, do we run a risk of ending up with massive amounts of energy we have nothing to do with?
No, not
No,
even
okay.
close.
Not even close.
No, I mean, you could tell that look. I don't know who your electric provider is, but I can see mine. Things aren't getting cheaper. That's for sure. So if anything, there's a need for more energy. Uh, we will consume everything that we can bring online. It will happen. It's happening so much that these companies are finding their own sources of energy. That that should not be the case. That should be embarrassing for any administration. And this is one of, I think, Trump's biggest faux pas, is that he does not see what's in front of him. And all he's thinking about is drill, baby, drill. And the problem with that is not a long-term solution. And that's telling you to solve the problem with one hand tied behind your back. You're
Yeah,
not using everything at your disposal.
yeah. I would like to just reverse it, though. I'd say he's looking at everything except solar and wind. So he's looking at nukes, he's looking at gas, natural gas. He likes everything except for solar and wind. And I don't care about wind. I do care about solar. So Elon says he's thinking about solar. About 40% of those, in a poll that I just took, about 40% of those who follow me on X think that that Tesla should get into solar and set up that gigafactory. And obviously Tesla would have themselves as a customer for a very long time, because they have all of the charging stations and all of the future charging stations. They have all of the factories that haven't been covered yet. They've got the service centers and I mean, so many different places that are just their own, what they already own that needs to be powered up with solar. Then in addition to that, they've got 3 solar farms right now that are selling retail or wholesale solar, and that's in Spain, in England, and in Texas. So spinning off more and more solar farms with batteries that would be used as their own utility, and selling it to wholesalers and retailers. So that's just to start with. They would have all of those things that they could do, and then there's the general public. Do you think that Tesla should get into solar panel manufacturing?
But they already do. So the question is, should they expand what they already
Into a
do? And
in a gigafactory, yeah.
I think the answer is no.
Okay.
And we've talked about this. I
We talked
think,
about it last week, did we? Okay.
yeah, I think it's Tesla should focus their energy on hard problems
Energy?
that aren't being solved. Pardon?
They should focus their energy on?
Yes, on hard problems. That's good. That was unintentional. It was a delightful little coincidence, little pun. Um, they shouldn't try to solve for problems that aren't real problems. Solar panels are the commodity at this point. You can. There's no bottleneck on solar panels. If you want solar panels, go buy them. You can buy them on Amazon, on Facebook, on eBay. You can buy them anywhere. Like they're not expensive. Everyone makes them. Samsung, LG, everyone makes solar panels. Not expensive, easy to get, relatively easy to install now. No real improvement in efficiency. They all convert about anywhere from 25 to maybe 28% of what they take in. So it's not a scalable solution, in my opinion, for the problem that you have when it comes to these big data centers. I think solar panels are a great solution. Like, there should be a mandate. in my opinion. There should be a law that you can't build any net new house without solar panels integrated.
You have that in
Like, it should just be a law.
California. Yeah.
Oh, that's the law that you can't build
Yep.
without that? Yeah,
Yep.
there should be a law countrywide. If you did that alone, that would be huge. Even if the Duke Energy or whoever your provider is, even if they're the ones that own it, but just to give the individual home users an electric bill of $50 a month, something like that, that'd be amazing. And that would free up so much resources. But it allows you to distribute the problem rather than having to have these big solar farms. I think the answer for a lot of these data centers will come from nuclear or more readily available natural gas. And I think that's going to be, you have to use the right energy source for the right problem. Not to say that these, Texas has a lot of solar panels as well.
Right.
Yeah, you should do that. You have that real estate, use that real estate. But the solar panels aren't going to power the whole factory. It's just not. You would need so much more surface area to power that whole factory. So use what you have there, use that. Don't let that surface area go to waste. But I think natural gas is a bigger answer to it. So I don't know. It's just using the right. It's how Elon always talks about LiDAR, right? Using the right tool for the right problem. And I think same thing with energy generation. Use gasoline, use natural gas, use solar, use wind, use nuclear where it makes sense. Use waste heat, right? We should be doing way more with thermal and waste heat. They do a lot of that in the Northeast, obviously because different climate up there. But there are a lot of other solutions. And again, I still feel like we're tying ourselves with one hand behind our back in many ways. Because again, keep in mind, drill baby drill does not work at a $60 a barrel price.
Right. Yeah.
I don't care how much Trump wants him to. I don't care how much you press. Once you get to $60 a barrel,
they start capping them.
They start pulling back. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's been a true number. $60 has been a true number since I was in the oil industry, and that's all the way back in 2013. So in essentially over a decade since I started in that industry, it has not changed. It is still roughly around $60 a barrel.
Yeah.
And that's assuming you're not, it's not a net new well that you're going and you're excising a well that already exists.
Right. In fact, when we were at $60 at a barrel and when OPEC wasn't increasing their output, we saw some wells getting pulled off just weeks ago. In fact, right now we have a little bit of a shortage in the United States because of that. So yeah, all right.
Yeah, okay. We won't win that battle. We will never win that battle, and OPEC made sure of that. I mean, again, I think it was 2015, 2016, we started to crash in the oil field here in the United States. Companies started to, European companies started to, that they started pulling rigs offline because they just couldn't be profitable. And OPEC was essentially saying to all the frackers, hey, you guys want to play this game? We'll play this game and we will win this game. And oil got laid down to like $13 a barrel or something like that for a period.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why they're the cartel. They've got an organization and they've got their people in check. Over here, especially in the United States with all the frackers, it's the wild, wild west. Yeah. There's no everybody getting together, coordinating to check, supply, demand, keep things balanced, keep things moving. We don't have that like OPEC does. So it's boom or bust. That's what it's been for decades.
Okay, so since I've asked you only simple questions so far, I thought I'd finish with a tougher question. I have been convinced for a year for a year and a half probably, that inflation is on the way down. It has been. I've been convinced that it's going to keep going down. In fact, that we're going to get into maybe deflation because of the AI changes that are coming and the robotic changes that are coming, that the amount of productivity increases that we will see will actually drive prices down. But the last 2 months, we've seen slight upticks in inflation, at least according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. No, the Bureau, whichever one it is, who does, I forget who does the inflation, the CPI and the PPI. And so we've seen increases the last 2 months, yet on the opposite side of that, you've got Trueflation saying that we are down around 1.76. And then I got this friend of mine in Florida who says, what's wrong with these guys over at the CPI? The price of housing is going down all around my house, all around my neighborhood. So what do you think? Is inflation done? I did a thumbnail a week ago. Inflation is done, and now it ticked up again. So what do you think?
I think it's your fault.
Yeah, see? Yeah, of course.
Well, let's see. Is inflation done? I think there's always, it's a nuanced question.
I told you it was going to be the easiest question of the day.
Well, it's a simple question, but it's not a simple answer. Is inflation done? Where? In what? Right? The real question you're asking is, are we going to get an aggregate of inflation to continue to come down, or is the aggregate of inflation reading measurements going to continue up? And I'm of the point of view that we will continue to see the aggregate of inflation come down. So that doesn't mean that grocery prices might not go up. That doesn't mean that your car insurance might not go up. But when we include the cost of housing, when we include the cost of computers and lumber and all that in aggregate, I think it will continue to come down slowly.
Okay.
But I believe that we are slowing down a lot as a country, and we don't see it. And I think that is one of the reasons why, like, I do think there is some, some people call it inflationary effects. You and I don't. We see it more as a one-time potential impact from the tariffs. I do think that that's happening. It's inevitable, right? Like, that has to be eaten somewhere. How much from who? It's distributed, right? It's not like one thing.
Right.
And so I do think that's been hitting and slowly hitting us. But I think because we're slowing down so much as an economy that you're not really seeing it. Today's CPI, it doesn't show necessarily inflation's increasing, but it's showing it's stagnant a little bit. And to me, the reason it's stagnant is because we've been slowing down. And so it's kind of compensating for those one-time hits, or what some people call a tax or inflation on us consumers. So my theory is that our slowdown is masking the effects of the tariffs, and the tariffs are ironically masking the effects of the Fed staying high. So they're kind of neutralizing each other, but by that happening, it makes us think that we're seeing something that we're not seeing, or better yet, it's not allowing us to see the problem that we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
we do have a lot of kind of one-time moving issues that are kind of one-timers that are all moving simultaneously, that it's a little hard to figure out what impact they'll have in the short term. So you've got we've talked about it last week, we've got the number of people we don't have any illegal immigrants coming into the country, and we have about 1 million leaving the country. So there's an impact from that in terms of reducing the amount of available labor in the country. But we've also got a little bit of a hit on the GDP, because there is a contribution to GDP also from the fact that you have more people in the economy. Then we have labor coming out of the government. So we're reducing the number of, we're not increasing, as we have been for the last 4 years, the number of people working for the federal government. We got that decreasing. We also had the government increasing in their spending on a consistent basis. And now we got the government the U.S. government decreasing the amount of spending. And then you add the tariffs in, as you pointed out, which is working in a couple of different ways as well. So that is a lot of moving parts that are kind of one-time deals that we don't normally see in an economy, that it might take a minute to figure out how that all play. Oh, and then you throw AI on top of all that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the big risk in many ways comes down to the Fed. And so let me speak out of both sides of my mouth here, but I do think it'll make sense. A lot of people think that if the Fed cuts rates, that equals inflation, because any growth but that's not true. Inflation occurs when we print money,
right?
Which you could argue cutting rates prints money, but it's not just printing money. It's printing money and the velocity of that money, how fast it turns over.
That plus productivity gains or losses. So if you have productivity losses, then you have inflation. Yeah.
So the risk of the Fed cutting rates comes down to housing.
Right.
Because a big part of how we measure inflation, and mind you, other countries don't do this, but we measure housing in our inflation.
Right.
If you drop rates, you're going to create, I think, a surplus of demand for housing that right now we really don't have. We've had 20 months of consecutive growth in the housing supply, right, of houses available on market. Inventory. Thank you. So if we drop rates, that's going to start to come down because that will allow more buyers to step in. But as a result, that's also going to incentivize sellers to either hold prices or increase their prices.
Sure.
So that's kind of a catch-22 because housing is such a big part of the CPI measuring,
right,
which could look like inflation, or I mean, I guess it would be inflation in some ways, but
yes, that is inflation.
That's the dynamic that is kind of an issue.
Yes, it
is
is
hard to contend with.
The other thing, though, is that the Fed rates are not what controls mortgages. That is the bond market. So the Fed rates control your car rate, your car interest rates, your consumer, all kinds of consumer interest rates. We saw last time that the Fed cut the rates 50 basis points last fall. The bonds, the 10-year bonds went up 100 basis points, and so did mortgages. So as much as I think we should cut the Fed rate because that would reduce the interest rates on cars and consumer borrowing. The reality is, in order to get the mortgages down, we need to convince the bond market that that there's a reason to buy our bonds, and that I think is a separate issue, which is just as complicated as everything else that we just talked about, because there's so many moving parts on the bond market.
Yeah, so you are right that mortgages aren't tied to the Fed interest rate. I would argue that's a semantic thing to say that we hear a lot on CNBC. It's not necessarily true. Because a lot of lenders will base off of what the prime rates are. So
they'll do that on your adjustables. So on the adjustable rates, sometimes your change in your adjustable rate is based on a change in the Fed rate. But when a mortgage company is when they're funding a loan, they can't look at short-term rates in order to fund that loan. They have to look at least the 10-year or the 20 or the 30-year in order to make a decision in order to be able to borrow the money for a long term, because your mortgage is going to be at least 30 years. So that's why that, and you can look at the stats, you can see that it follows the bonds, just not 100%, but pretty darn close.
But that's kind of my point, though. If you look historically at what rates are, and
Right.
you look historically where the 10-year is, mortgage rates tend, a fixed 30-year mortgage rate tends to sit about 1% ish above what the 10 year is at. Historically, that tends to be a
Right.
rough number to know what a fair rate is.
Right.
And so, everyone can say that it's not tied to each other, but it is.
It
Just
tends,
because,
yeah. If you look at the Fed rate and the 10-year, you will also see a tendency for them to move together. But sometimes they move quite differently. And right now, that's
well,
one of those times. Yeah. Yeah.
and it's Tesla investors, like, we know this better than anyone. It's
Yeah.
like saying, well, just because Elon posted something on X, that doesn't change the value of Tesla. It's like, you're right, it doesn't, but you know what? It does.
Yeah.
At the same time. Like, don't tell me him posting something does not move the stock. It
Right.
does, which changes the value of the company. Like, you can say all you want
Well,
that they have nothing to do with each other, but they do.
yes, in the short term. So speaking of Tesla the price of Tesla stock, what do
Yeah,
you think?
where's my all-time high? Where's my all-time high?
Yeah,
Huh?
where is your all-time high? You
Been
have to,
waiting for you've
you
been
have to keep
telling me it's coming.
you have to
Your
keep bringing
month
it
is up, I think.
up. Yeah, my month is up. Every one of my extensions of the goalposts has been obviated. All right. So what do you think is going to happen between now and earnings call and after?
Mm, that's an interesting question. Um, I think that we will. I think we'll probably trade somewhat sideways here. We might go up a little bit into earnings, and I think after earnings, we're gonna go up.
After earnings, we go up. So it'd be a great call. Elon will be enthusiastic and excited, and we'll see positive things after that.
Honestly, it's not even about him being positive and enthusiastic. I think they actually have some compelling things to say.
Oh, I see. Okay, right, right.
I think they'll actually have compelling, substantive things to say, whether it's about the new vehicle, whether it's about expansions or what they're seeing right now. And, if he says we plan on being in 5 to 6 cities at the end of the year, it will actually mean something to
Right,
people.
right.
People will actually believe him and not think it's BS. When he said it last quarter that he thinks by the end of the year, it's like, dude, you haven't even launched in one city. What are you talking about? But
Right.
now, at least by the earnings call, I imagine we'll have another expansion in Austin. But yeah, maybe that might be a little bold of a prediction, because when's the earnings call, next week?
Yeah, so I think, like you said a little while
23rd?
ago, though, they've been scoping out all around there. So as long as they're willing to put more cars on the road, I think they could easily do that, if for no other reason to have done it before the earnings call.
Yeah, so I think they'll be able to go into that earnings call saying that we're going to expand to other cities. We're just waiting on regulatory approvals. We anticipate getting those soon. We've expanded Austin. Things are going good. We're not seeing any incidences yet. We're being overly cautious, So I think they'll be able to go in there with a lot of good stuff. If they don't say anything like the new vehicle is scrapped, or we decide not to do it,
Right.
that's the only risk that I
Right.
see. If he says something like that,
That could change.
back under 300.
Well, speaking of back under 300, we are back to 309. But I think that was primarily due to the fact that the entire market kind of crashed at the end of the day. Midday, it started going down. It just kept going down and more down. And that probably maybe it was partially a reaction, kind of a late reaction to the CPI, because the bond market decided that they didn't like it. So we are now, are you ready for this? Right now in the pre-market, 4.493. We are only fractionally away from 4.50, which is the last time we peaked. We peaked at 4.5, maybe a little tiny bit above, maybe 4.51 or something like that. But I think the market the bond market apparently decided it didn't like the CPI print. The bond market not liking it, I think, caused the stock market not to like it, because the Cathie Woods all crashed, and then you saw the Magnificent Seven start to have problems, and then everything else joined. I guess but the Dow, I think, was down a lot. The Dow is continuing down in the pre-market, another 86 down for the Dow, another 1350 for the S&P, and another 5250 for the NASDAQ. Those are all around 20%. I'm sorry, 0.2, 20%, 0.2%. But the S&P is still over 100 points above its previous all-time high. And the NASDAQ is probably very close to its all-time high without looking it up.
So you said a lot there.
Yeah, I did.
I don't think the sell-off had anything to do with the CPI.
Okay.
I think the sell-off had more to do with I think we might be getting a little frothy here.
Oh, okay.
We've had nothing but all-time highs on the S&P pretty much every day for a while.
Yeah.
More or less.
And
You have
NASDAQ too, yeah.
you have Nvidia hitting all-time highs. You have Palantir hitting all-time. Everyone's hitting all-time highs except for Tesla. So I think the market may be getting ready for a little bit of a sell-off.
Ah, okay. Now that's interesting, because this is the first week of earnings, and the 2 out of the 3 banks were really good this morning. Citi and I forget, Morgan Stanley, I think, were both really good. Wells Fargo had fine
sold
numbers.
off, right?
Wells Fargo had good numbers, but their guidance was a little light.
Yeah, they sold off.
People who were analyzing that said that the Wells Fargo thing might have been by comparison, that the other two did so well. And then
Wells Fargo, I thought, came out first. They came out first thing this morning.
But did they drop immediately? Did they drop immediately?
Yep.
Oh, okay. All right.
It was like the first I saw. I turned the news on.
Got it. Anyway, so people are saying they think we're going to be at least 5% up on overall earnings, which would be a little light, to your point. That would be evidence that maybe there is a slowdown going on if we only have a 5% gain in the earnings season.
Honestly, I think it'd be good for Tesla. I also think part of what's holding Tesla back is that people are putting money into other companies like Nvidia and Palantir and whatnot.
And crypto.
And so I think, and crypto. So I think a rotation out of all that could help Tesla. I mean, there's only so much money to go around, and we don't see money markets, coming out yet.
Right.
So,
yeah, it's in fact even up higher, 7.5, 7.6 trillion now, I think, something like that. Crazy numbers. I actually did an interesting study today on Grok. I asked it a comparison of where we are in the S&P 500 in terms of liquid assets, cash and cash equivalents, compared to 1999. And the difference is, I should have looked it up. I don't have it handy. And then also free cash flow. I mean, it's so much more money, so much more free cash flow. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot. All right. Gold. Speaking of, let's go back to Bitcoin, since I just mentioned that. Bitcoin finally found a top, so it's back down to 117.6. Do you think it needs to come down a bit more before it makes its next assault? because it really went up fast.
Yeah, I mean the bill didn't pass today. It got blocked. Um, so I think that partly had to do with it.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean you know someone's buying, and I don't really see it slowing down per se, but I also but this is what Bitcoin does too.
Right.
It goes up, it drops by 50%. This is just what it does.
Gold is sitting about where it's been for the last 2 weeks. On the show we now have I have uh, a meme for it. It's 33.33. So that's what it's been for like over 2 weeks. So we're at 33.36 at this exact moment. Silver, on the other hand, as you know, broke through its all-time high, finally, even with the asterisk. And I did learn today that there are shortages of silver. And they're considering it to be a fairly significant shortage,
Mm.
with no real answer for how to solve it. So something that people are interested in, a play that maybe nobody else is paying attention to right now. It's not investment advice. It would be study it deeply, and then maybe it's a potential investment. And copper 55, 552, very similar to where it's been since it had the 50% tariff put on. So closing thoughts about the market, about the economy, about Tesla, about anything?
Um, I think we're in a weird spot with Tesla. There's so much news that's come out, so much that's happened, and I don't think that the stock market's reflected it. And I think our time is coming soon where we will, again, what do I mean by that? I mean, we'll at least be back at 350 to 400 range, ideally higher, but I think that we are due for it. Things have quieted down between Trump and Elon, so hopefully that's at least a little bit behind us. And in that time, we've launched Robotaxi. We've had a Robotaxi expansion. We're getting Grok in the vehicle. The delivery numbers were not as bad as feared. In fact, they're a little better than expected. So, we might be getting a new vehicle soon. Hopefully we are. We expand to India, and yet we're still at the exact same price since the whole Elon Trump fiasco.
Right.
There's
a day coming.
There's a day coming, and I think that day's either going to be, I mean, it could happen before earnings, but I imagine if someone's going to get into it in a serious way, meaning institutional, I think they'll either do it right before earnings starts or after to avoid any kind of risk of what's going on with the new vehicles.
Right. Okay. Well, having said all that, I guess we'll let you go do whatever it is that you do when you're not on the show. I mean,
Eat.
Eat. Oh, you haven't had
I'm
your.
gonna go eat.
Oh no. All right. All right. Well, Nicholas Gibbs, as always, we appreciate you coming on and sharing. And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.
All right. Cheers.